Hello, hey everyone, how you doing? Uh, my name is Ned Dwyer, as I said, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Great Question, the all-in-one UX research platform loved by the teams of the likes of Canva, Miro, and Brex. But today I want to start by talking a bit more about a personal story on lessons I learned in the previous company that I built and sold, how research ultimately saved the day, and how you can run great UX research fast and affordably using AI. So this is a photo of me and my co-founder, best man at my wedding, on the happiest day of my life. Not only were we at a Pitbull concert, but we'd actually just sold our first company. And it was an amazing experience, something that everyone always dreams of, but for us, actually inside, I felt like a failure. It was really the worst day of my life, because while I'd always dreamed of one day selling a company, really I wanted to leave a long-lasting legacy, and we'd failed to do that. And so while everyone was sort of high-fiving us and telling us how great job we did, we knew that we hadn't set out what we meant to do. And to give you a little bit of background, the company was called Tweaky. We made it easy to tweak anything about any website for $25 per tweak. This is back in the day before AI and great tools like Webflow, where this was actually a really, really hard thing to do. And when we launched, we got tons of accolades. Folks like Jeffrey Zeldman and Jason Fried were shouting us out, heaps of press and attention. That was awesome, but we couldn't figure out how to scale. Turns out it's really hard to grow something $25 at a time. And so we then got an acquisition offer, which was sort of a bit of a lifeline for us from GoDaddy, and they acquired us. And that was awesome initially. But then we realized how quickly they were able to grow revenue far beyond what we were ever able to achieve. And part of that was the distribution, but it was actually more than that. It was that they understood something about the customer that we hadn't realized, but it was right in front of our face the whole time. Our acquirers had a secret. They figured out that people didn't want to tweak a website to make the logo bigger or add a shopping cart. They just wanted a better website. They were focused on the outcome. We focused on how we did it. We'll tweak any website. They focused on delivering just a great end user experience. Where we charged $25 increments, they were charging you thousands of dollars, but delivering something that actually solved the problem. And they did this because they deeply understood the customer through UX research. They understood the desired outcome. Of course, in hindsight, that's what we realized. And it's kind of like this midwit meme, which I love, where we were so focused on we'll put your website in code escrow at a marketplace of developers, we'll do all this stuff. And they were just like, let's just build good websites. And so that helped them to achieve this meteoric growth that had avoided us the whole time. And so everyone knows this Paul Graham quote, or I hope they do, talk to customers to build something people want. And we'd done plenty of that. We had sales conversations and support conversations, and we did some interviews and surveys and things like that, but most of it was just talking. It wasn't really truly understanding them. Because it's not enough just to talk to them. You need to talk and really listen and try to understand and empathize and build something not just that a few people like we'd achieved, but lots of people, and they're willing to pay plenty of money to help you stay an independent company and not need to sell your baby. And so that failure was the spark for our company, Great Question. So Great Question is an all-in-one tool that makes it easy for anyone to run customer interviews, surveys, or prototype tests all in one place. We built it to really remove this friction to empower PMs and designers and marketers to do that. And can I get a quick show of hands here? Let's think about the last year. Who has run some formal research, whether it's an interview or a survey or a prototype test? All right, good. That's great. Almost everyone. Maybe I should have done the inverse. How about in the last month? That's pretty good. How about in the last week? Still really good. That's great. All right, and it makes a ton of sense. And I think a lot of people can kind of get freaked out by this, but ultimately we admire Figma so much in so many ways, and one of them is we're trying to do to research what Figma has done to design, which is break it outside of the research organization and empower everyone else to do it. And I love this quote from Dylan where we want to lower the floor so that more people can be doing this outside of just design and research, but product managers, marketers, developers, while raising the ceiling on what's actually possible, the advancements of the methods. So you can do something that previously a PhD would be able to do, guided through what's the right method, how big a sample size, how much should you be spending on incentives, and automating so much of that grunt work, which I'll show you in a second. Because while we all know that data science will tell you what the conversion rate is through a funnel or a button was clicked, but it's not necessarily going to tell you why. Why did they leave? They got distracted by their family, or there was some other shiny object that got in the way, or maybe the interface wasn't good or it wasn't accessible. Only research is going to tell you that why. And it's not just about prototype testing or customer interviews. You can use it for pricing strategy to figure out what is the optimal pricing and packaging for your product. What does the market perceive your brand to be? Why did you lose that deal last quarter? Research is the answer. And just to give you a sense, we get asked this question all the time. How much research do we run, and how does it work within a research organization? Yesterday, we launched a new feature called card sorting, which makes it easy to sort of figure out users' mental models about how to group different objects, like maybe fruits and vegetables. Where does a tomato go? Where does a potato go? And this is the process we went through. We did desktop research, so what's everyone else out there doing? We then did some generative interviews with some customers to see what they liked about the current tools. We did some high-level concept testing, like a website. We got that in front of customers. Some prototype testing, high fidelity. And then pricing testing using Van Westendorp pricing sensitivity meter, for those that wanted to know. And then finally, beta testing to actually get it in front of customers and make sure that we're hitting the mark. But you don't need to go and do all this. I think I kind of show it as like an example of what like a well-rounded process of mixed methods research experience would look like. And my encouragement for you today, for those that are not doing prototype testing as much, is to focus there. But the reality is, not everything needs deep research. And I think when folks getting started on this can sometimes get wrapped up in this. Like, we've got this magic tool now, let's put everything through it. But when you've got something where the problem clarity is really clear and really high, and the risk is really low, like, should we change this button color or update this line of copy? And it's not really going to affect, the commercials, or it's going to hurt someone, then you can probably just ship it. But where you're changing something like pricing, it's pretty high risk, and you might not know how to change this pricing, what the impact is going to be, and you could lose a lot of money, either by underpricing and losing money on your COGS, or overpricing and no one buys this thing. And so that's a great spot to be using more research. And so if it's so powerful, why aren't more people doing it? Maybe outside of this room, we've obviously got a sophisticated audience. I think there's so many common reasons, and I think most of them are malarkey. I think the first one is people don't have time. And to them I say, you kind of don't have time not to do it. You don't have budget. There's so many tools out there now that are free or very cheap. And again, it gets so much more expensive to change something later on. It's too hard to talk to users. And my encouragement here is to go and recruit sales teams, customer success, and everyone else in the organization that can connect you to the right people, or use external panel providers like you can find through Great Question. There's also the common tropes I think you get in some organizations that don't value research yet, which is, we already know, or no one cares, or we don't know how. And I'm hoping to show you a little bit of that today, leveraging AI about how to speed this up. Because ultimately, 1 million decisions get made about your customers, about your product, about your marketing, about your sales every single day. And you can either decide to choose to make those decisions based on the highest paid person's opinion, based on quantitative measures, or based on gut instinct. Or you can save time and get it in front of customers. And I love this quote from Jim Barksdale. If we have the data, let's go with the data. If we're going opinions, we're going with mine. It's like, let's not leave it to that. And so prototype testing, I think, is the place where everyone can get started. And it is so easy. It takes less than 5 minutes. You can start getting results that are going to impact the design and how you get that in front of customers. You're already designing work in Figma. You're easy to get user feedback. And you can do it through an interview and get the data, or you can do it asynchronously while you sleep. Wake up the next morning, you've got the feedback, get back to work. And prototype testing is great, not just for testing prototypes, but also usability and messaging, concept testing. It's about desirability, understandability, and it's going to save you so many hours before you build the thing and get it in front of customers. And so with that, I hope I will not regret this. We are going to do a live demo of the thing. If we can switch to the machine. Oh, and we're live. Great. So let me get this out. Cool. We can all see that. Awesome. And so we want to go and understand something about this new prototype that we've built. And so we can type in, what do IC tech workers think about our new onboarding? And we can add a prototype in here. We integrate with Figma and their latest API. unmod. Oh no. Great. Great. There's one I prepared earlier. So we integrate natively with Figma to bring in your prototype. We strip away all the click zones so we can hide that. And now the AI is going through and taking that really simple prompt and working with us to define what is the right goal that the person's going for, propose a method you might use. It isn't always prototype testing. It could be a survey or a generative interview or a Van Westendorp pricing sensitivity meter. Setting up the study, telling you how many people to talk to, what incentive you might consider, and even going and finding some people that you can recruit out in the wild from our panel of 3 million people all around the world. Boom. Okay. And so here we've got the high-level plan, the title, the goal, the method, the incentive. Awesome. And we can come down and have a look at the audience. And we can see it's gone and selected some B2B folks with these titles from these industries, with these sort of skills. And it's saying in this particular panel with these particular requirements, there's 200 people that are ready to go to test this. And then I can click down to the test, and it's not only set up this test, it's also created a bunch of other relevant questions that I might want to ask to better understand not just how they interact with the prototype, but what do they think about the experience in general and what suggestions they might have. I'm going to click on this prototype, and it's not really meant for this size screen, so I might have to zoom back out. It's gone and given a task description on what they should do. It's brought the prototype in, and I can see that prototype there is ready to go. And so now I can preview. So let me preview that. And I can see what the user experience is like. It's going to record everyone's camera and audio to make it real. And then we're going to load up the Figma prototype in the background so I can start testing it, where it's tracking every click as I'm going through. And when I'm done, I click enter, answer these additional questions while it's recording my voice. So that's pretty cool. That's for the preview. And now I'll recruit someone. Do I recruit either share a link, or I can recruit via a panel of 3 million participants, or you can recruit from build your own panel, import a list, connect to your Salesforce or Snowflake. We're just trying to make it super easy to go and run research of any kind, whether it's with your own customers or non-customers. And so here's one I prepared earlier. This is the output you get. On the left, we can see the things I set up, the plan, the test, the things like that, thanks to AI. I can then track all my participants that have come through this, see who's been paid, what we know about them, and then I can see what we've learned. And here we can see, again, this is a little bit weird, I can see the success rate of people going through this experience, click rate, misclick rate. I can play back a video of the test to see what people experience with AI-generated summaries and create clips and highlight reels from these moments. I can see things like what are the shortest path and recommendations on what to go and do next. I can see timelines to see how long it took people, or even look at misclick rates on screens and things like that. That's all cool, but it takes a bit of time. So I can also use AI to go and query it and ask a question like, and I might ask a new question, what recommendations do you have for me on this study? And this is the part where everyone really needs to hold your breath while I press this button. And it's going to not only come and give you some recommendations on what you might do based on what it's understanding about this particular study or any study you run, a great question. It's going to then link back to the particular moments where those topics or themes came up. And so this is going to allow you to make sure that it's not hallucinating and that it's actually using real data. And you can use that to then go and create clips and highlight reels to share with your team so they really understand why we need to go and change or fix this thing. And so it's going to go and populate these queries. But here, again, here's one I prepared earlier. I can click here. And now it's going to play that back. Again, it's not really meant for this screen size. And you can see it's following along as it's doing that. And I can turn that into a highlight reel or clip. And so if we can go back to the slides, I think what I'm hoping you can get from this today is that we're just trying to streamline everything that gets in the way of you running UX research, because it's so powerful when you do it. Whether you're trying to do prototype testing, interviews, or surveys, it should be a part of every release that you're doing, no matter what your role is in the organization. I think the key things I'd like you to take away is that quality participants gets you quality results. So screening and filtering for the right people, it's kind of garbage in, garbage out, whether you're doing it from your own panel or third-party ones. You want to give just enough instruction to the user. You don't want to guide them all the way through, because you're not going to be there to hold their hand when this thing goes live eventually. They need to be able to figure out how to do it themselves. And video makes it real. I can't emphasize enough how many times I've seen someone see a video of a customer going through an experience, or I've done it myself, and as soon as you look at them, before they've even clicked anything, you're like, this needs to change. Like, it's just so obvious what needs to happen. Ultimately, I think UX research is a superpower that everyone should be using, not only because it helps you to see around corners, but it helps you see around corners in your own career and professional development to build better products for customers. And the best designers use user research as their competitive advantage, and start small. Just one good conversation can transform your next design. So with that, I just say get started. Come and see us at the Great Question booth over here. If you've got some research-related questions, I'd love to talk to you about it. Thank you.